Hey friends, it's Danielle Peterson here. I'm just going to give you a quick tutorial on how to watercolor with the kit you just purchased from Peterson Art Academy. Today we're going to go over that aloe vera print you received, so go ahead and get that out and let's get started. So I have one very similar to the one you received with all our fun colors. You have all the way from white to black and all your primary, tertiary, and secondary colors in there. So just a quick overview. You're going to want to mix these colors to get a more natural, beautiful color. So for our aloe vera, which is what we're going to be walking through today, I'm going to mix the greens and the blues and a little bit of the purples together to get the variation of aloe vera that we want to see. And then I'm going to come back in and add shadows by adding red and green together and maybe a little bit of purple to give a dark, it'll be this purple type of color, which will give it a very natural looking shadow. Another couple things you'll find in your kit are a sponge. This is good for traveling. You put water in here and keep your brush wet. Pencil sharpener for, these are willow charcoal sticks. I'll show you how to use those in a second. These are super fun. An eraser, and then of course your two paint brushes. So you have a nice square bright brush. These are nice for covering larger areas and for getting kind of crisp edges. And then you have this brush. This is going to be primarily what I'm using today to get all of the fun little details on our aloe vera. And then I'm going to show you a trick using sea salt at the end. You can also use regular iodized salt, whatever you have, as long as it's this type of, like this coarse salt. So these are the tools I have. I also have 2 cups, one for cleaner water, which I'm just going to be using straight to mix colors, and then my washing dirty water. I also like to have some sort of paper towel or rag handy when using watercolors. So here we go. So I'm going to start with the leaves. I will first start by just getting them wet, and then I'm going to apply paint to that. I like the technique where you leave some of the white showing, and it kind of gives you the appearance of the sunlight hitting the leaves and gives it kind of a fun artistic look. That's my personal opinion. If you want to be super detailed and realistic, you can fill in everything. If you're going to do the background, do that first. You always want to work from light to darks. So I'm just going to do 1 or 2 leaves so you can get the idea of how to do it. And then I'll show you how to do the foreground. And that's all I'm going to be doing. I like to leave the background blank. I think it looks pretty. Again, that's up to you. That's why you have the kits. I'd love to see the pictures of your completed work, so send those over to me when you're done. Let's get started. So first, grabbing water, we'll do this one and this one. So I'm just gonna kind of get some water on there so the paper starts to absorb it. This will allow the paint to flow more freely and make it look really pretty. I'm gonna try and leave a white spot in the middle, kind of alluding to the vein, and you'll see that the ink is kind of starting to bleed. I personally really like this. I think it's pretty, and I think it gives it a neat texture. So I'm gonna start mixing colors. I'm starting with a light green, mixing it in one of my pots. I already had some colors I was mixing. And then I'm gonna wash my brush off, get it wet again, and grab this blue and mix them together. That's gonna give you a really pretty color. So there, that's this nice kind of foresty green. I'm gonna add a little bit more blue, so I like mine a little bit more tealy. That's pretty. And you can just have fun with it. Don't think too much about it. And like I'm mixing my waters already. And again, the more water it's watercolor, so the more water you mix in the paint, the lighter it's going to be. You can see as the paint kind of runs out and my brush, and there's water, it gets lighter. I kind of like that. So there's one. I might add a little. And you can come back and add as many layers of paint as you want. With watercolor, it's always a good idea to start light, and then you can add more layers of paint as you continue to make it darker and darker and darker. That's kind of a rule of thumb when doing watercolor, is start light, oops, and then go dark. So again, I'm gonna start with a nice, kind of map out where I want the paint to go, because if it's not wet, the watercolor isn't gonna wanna go there. Okay. I like to leave a little bit of a gap. See how it's kind of bleeding? I like that. I'm gonna add some of the darker green, because this petal is leaf, petal, probably a leaf is what they're called, is in the back. So I'm going to make it a little bit of a darker green. And you can paint, you can grab more colors. You don't have to mix them. It's totally up to you. The cool thing about watercolor is if you get other colors on your palette, so on your little cubes, you can just take water, clean it right off. And then it's clean. Let's see, here's another one. And it cleans right off. I don't know if you can see that, but that's what it does. Cool. So, yay, watercolor. Okay, so there's my 2 leaves. So just get creative, have fun with it, and don't take it too seriously. This is just for fun. It's for relaxation and to just kind of unwind. So now I'm gonna move down to the foreground here, and I wanna make it kind of a browny, tanny dirt, kind of like Arizona dirt. Don't miss this little leaf here, that's a leaf. So I'm just kind of gonna put water down close to where I made the line. So kind of use the lines and the marks that I made as your guide, where you're gonna put your paint. Now I'm gonna mix up a color. I'm gonna start with light. So I'm gonna take this like dusty, sandy type of color, move it out here, mix it over here, and around the edges, because I know down here, closer to the plant, it's gonna be darker, because it's going to be in shadow. So I'm gonna take some of my brown, mix it with this dusty color, and get my mid-tone, which is just a fancy word for the middle color, somewhere that's in between. And then I'm gonna take the brown again, mix it. I had kind of a black over here. I'm gonna mix it with a black, and just go like this, get my nice dark tone, and then I'm gonna kind of follow it out. Okay, and you can have fun with this. Make it as much as you want, as little as you want. And now I'm gonna take, this is where our salt comes in. So you're just gonna sprinkle a little bit on. I already have some on my palette over here. I'm just gonna take a little pinch, and you're gonna sprinkle it over your wet paint. And this is gonna give you a really cool texture when it's done. So there's your tutorial. This is very similar to what it's gonna look like when it's done. Let's remove this salt. Oh, it's still wet, okay. Let's remove the salt on the dry parts. Guys, wait till it's dry. Otherwise, it doesn't work so good. So just smear if you don't wait till it's dry. But, let's see, wait for it to focus. Right here, it was dry all the way. And it's gonna give you kind of a cool texture. Now this is just an option. You don't have to do that. You can do whatever you want. I just think it's fun.